Hi friends, it's Miss PG. I am here to share another read aloud with you. And this read aloud is The Name Jar. And I want to remind you what we're working on. So our learning target is, I'm going to share my screen. I can tell the beginning, middle, and end of a story. And the language target we're working on is I can use the words first, next, then, and last. So friends, when we're retelling a story, we listen to it first and we think about the key details, the key events that happen in a story. And we're going to use these words. First, what happens very first. Next, what happens in the middle or after the first part of the book. Then, so this is in addition to first, next, last. We're now using the transition word then to add more to the middle of the story to share what we remember about the middle of the story. So we have first, next, then, and then last. So when I talk about a story and I talk about the beginning, I am going to say first. The beginning, the story starting. When I talk about the middle, I'm going to use the words next or then. Next and then. And when I'm talking about the end of a story, I will use last. And sometimes, friends, some events fall into, more than one event can fall into the end of a story or the middle of the story or the first part of the story, the beginning of the story, okay? So we are going to read The Name Jar. And I want you to listen to this story. It's a special story about a girl who moved from Korea to America and her experiences with her Korean name and being in America. Her name is Eun-hae, and this book is written by Yang-suk Choi, and she is the illustrator as well. I'm going to also ask you some questions throughout the book. And when I ask you these questions, I want you to think in your mind, and if you have someone to talk to, you can share as well. If you would like to share with someone, you can always pause the video, touch the little pause button, and then touch the play button when you're ready to listen to the rest of the story. It is a long story, so pausing throughout is a great idea. Okay, here we go, friends. Listen with ears listening, eyes watching, voice quiet, body still and calm. The Name Jar by Yang-suk Choi. Name Jar. This is our title page. Through the school bus window, Eun-hae looked out at the strange buildings and houses on the way to her new school. It was her first day, and she was both nervous and excited. She fingered the little block of wood in her pocket and remembered leaving her grandmother at the airport in Korea. Her grandmother had wiped away Eun-hae's tears and handed her an ink pad and a small red satin pouch. Her name is inside. Your name is inside, she had said. My name. Eun-hae wondered. Again, she took out the red pouch to look at the wooden block with her name carved in it. As she ran her fingers across the grooves and ridges of the Korean characters, she pictured her grandmother's smile. Is that thing for show and tell? A boy asked Eunhae, surprising her. Okay, friends, stop. I want you to think, what has happened so far? What has happened to Eunhae so far? You could say first, Eunhae looked out the school bus window. And she's remembering back to leaving her grandmother. Next, she touches the ink pad and the small red satin pouch. That's what's happened so far. So you can pause the video and retell in your own words. Okay. Eunhae looked up as more kids leaned over. No, it's mine, Eunhae answered, quickly putting the pouch back in her pocket. Are you new here? What's your name? A girl asked. Eunhae, she said Eunhae. Oh, nay? The girl asked, scrunching up her face. Oh, nay? Some kids chanted. No, no, Eunhae corrected. It's spelled Unhei. It's pronounced Eunhae. Oh, it's Yo-hei? The boy said, like you-hey? What about hey you? Just then, the bus pulled up to the school and the doors opened. Eunhae hurried to get off. You-hey, bye-bye, the kids yelled as she left. How do you think Eunhae is feeling, friends? Eunhae felt herself blush, so she's getting a little embarrassed, colors coming to her cheeks. Eunhae stood in the doorway of her new and noisy classroom. She was relieved that the kids on the bus had gone to other rooms, but her face still felt red. Aren't you going in? Asked a curly-haired boy with lots of dots on his face. You're the new girl, right? He asked cheerfully. Eunhae nodded, and before she could walk away, the boy took her hand and pulled her through the door. Ooh, he seems like he might be nice. Here's the new girl, he announced so loudly that the teacher, Mr. Kokotos, almost dropped his glasses. Mr. Kokotos thanked him and greeted Eunhae. Please welcome our newest student, he said to the class. She and her family just arrived from Korea last week. Eunhae smiled broadly and tried not to show her nervousness. What's your name? Someone shouted. Eunhae pictured the kids on the bus. I haven't picked one yet, she told the class, but I'll let you know by next week. As Mr. Kokotos showed her to her desk, she felt many round, curious eyes on her. Why doesn't she have a name? She heard someone whisper. Maybe she robbed a bank in Korea and needs a new identity, a boy replied. Not very nice. On the bus home, nobody teased her, but Eunhae kept thinking about her name. How was school, Eunhae? Her mother asked when she walked in. Did you understand the teacher? Eunhae simply nodded. She unpacked her school bag and set the red pouch by a photograph of her grandmother. I'm glad you are learning English well, her mother said. You must study hard, behave nicely, and get good grades to show that you're a good Korean. I will, replied Eunhae, but I think I would like my own American name, she said quickly. Her mother looked at her with surprise. Why? Eunhae is a beautiful name. Your grandma and I went to a name master for it. But it's so hard to pronounce, Eunhae complained. I don't want to be different from all the American kids. You are different, Eunhae, her mother said. That's a good thing. Eunhae just wrinkled her nose. Later that day, Eunhye and her mother went grocery shopping in their new neighborhood. They passed Fidel's Falafels, Tony's Pizzas, and Dot's Deli. A big graffiti-painted garage truck roared like a lion as it took off down the street. Nothing sounded or looked familiar. Familiar means common to them or the same. Until they got to Kim's Market, the sign was both English and Korean. Her mother picked up cabbage to make kimchi, Korean-style spicy pickled cabbage, and other vegetables and meat. She also found some seaweed, Eunhye's favorite, for soup. It made Eunhye smile. Just because we've moved to America, her mother said, doesn't mean we stop eating Korean food. At the checkout counter, a friendly man smiled at Eunhye. Helping your mother with shopping? He asked. Eunhye nodded. I'm Mr. Kim, he said. And what is your name? Eunhye, she answered. Ah, what a beautiful name, he said. Doesn't it mean grace? Eunhye nodded again. My mother and grandmother went to a name master for it, she told him. A graceful name for a graceful girl, Mr. Kim said, as he put their groceries into bags. Welcome to the neighborhood, Eunhye. That evening, Eunhye stood in front of the bathroom mirror. Hi, my name is Amanda, she said cheerfully. Then she wrinkled her nose. Hi, my name is Laura. Maybe not. Her smile turned down. Nothing sounded right. Nothing felt right. I don't think American kids will like me, she worried as she began to brush her teeth. Hi, my name is Sozi, she said to the mirror with a mouthful of toothpaste. The next morning when Eunhye arrived at school, she found a glass jar on her desk with some pieces of paper in it. Eunhye took it out and read it aloud. Daisy, that's my baby sister's nickname, but she said you can use it if you want, said Cindy, who sat next to her. Eunhye took out the rest of the paper. Tamala, she read. I got it from a storybook, said Nate. She was smart and brave. What do you think about the names the students are collecting in the jar for Eunhye? What do you think about this? How do you think that it's making Eunhye feel? Pause and answer that question. Okay, friends, we are actually going to stop here and we will read the rest of the story for our second lesson. So for the first lesson, you're going to just restate first what happened first in the name jar, what happened next, what happened then, and last. Okay, friends? And we will pick up where we left off for our next lesson. Okay, bye, friends. Enjoy.